Hello everyone, how are you? Fine, thank you. This is Mr. MegaManFan. Like, share, comment, subscribe. You know all the things to do. Now, all of these Goodwill games say D, but that's not for D's nuts or disc doesn't work. It's for discount, because every one of these was buy one, get one for $1.99. So all 10 of these games only cost me $10. Now, not surprisingly, a lot of them are sports titles, but there are some other interesting things mixed in there. You know, when you can get a game for $1, why not get a sports title? That seems about the right price for a sports title, but if you can get a few other things mixed in with it, so much the better. So, it's a nice assortment. I don't know if I'll get to every single one of these in this video, but might try to test a few of them out before all is said and done. This one is probably the one that surprised me the most at being $1. Usually Cabela's sports games go for $4 or $5. One of the games I pulled out was actually thrown in the bin when it shouldn't have been, so I had to get something else to replace it, and I got a minute to win it. Don't know that I really have any plans to set up, connect, and play this, but it was a last-minute substitution for something that shouldn't have been in the bargain bin that was. And last but not least, probably the best of the bunch, Batman Game of the Year edition. And all of these are as complete as they should be. And I checked the discs in all of them before I left the Goodwill, and they all appear to be in good shape. But I figure at $1 each, it's a risk I can take. But, true believers, that is not all that happened today. We also had Xbox Day at Ben's Game Zone. These were not $1 a piece, but I did get 10. So 10 that cost me 10 and 10 that cost me a bit more than that. But the thing I like about Ben's, that I've always liked about Ben's, is 99% of what I buy ends up working, and if it doesn't, he'll replace it for you and usually give you a little extra credit for having to come back from wherever you live. He is super good to his customers. He takes care of everybody. So, plus when you figure in the price of shipping and handling and tax on eBay, you're gonna save money, almost guaranteed. Now, I already have Soul Calibur 2 on other platforms, but this is the version that exclusively has Spawn, so I thought it was worth picking up at that price. And this was the only version of Sonic Mega Collection that I didn't have, so again, why not? Only version of Namco Museum I didn't have, so again, why not? They also had Midway Arcade Treasures 3, but the cover art was kind of crusty and messed up, so I passed on it and just got 2. We will go ahead and try that out during this video. And last but not least, Guilty Gear, which should be another good example of 3D through the HDMI. So a lot of different things to test in this video. I'm going to focus on Xbox. Now, even though I was hoping to test more than the Xbox games today, there's a reason I didn't get to them, and you'll see that in a little bit. But first, we're testing Atari Anthology, something that's right up my alley as a longtime player of Atari games, going all the way back to the late 70s and early 80s. I didn't have my own Atari, but I did have a lot of friends who had Atari, and there was always an Atari on display in the video department at Sears, so I could stand there and play Pac-Man on Atari 2600 to my heart's content. Never played E.T. back in the day, only discovered that one much, much later on when I started collecting Atari games, so I missed out on that forgettable gem, although it's really not as bad as people make it out to be. But I'm not here to defend E.T. or to criticize E.T. I am going to criticize the fact they say this is the only Atari 5200 prototype in existence, because I know somebody who made me a working Atari 5200 Asteroids cartridge, so there is more than one. And speaking of things there are more than one of, see those purple bars on the screen? That is not part of the gameplay of Burnout Revenge, and this issue cropped up while I was testing Xbox games over and over again, and I tried everything I could think of short of unplugging the Xbox and plugging it into a different TV. I'm playing it through Xbox to HDMI, and I don't think that's actually what's causing the problem here. I think it's meant to not be upscaled to a 4K television, and that is somehow producing these artifacts. Burnout Revenge is perfectly fun, and most of the time, the display is so bright you're not even going to notice those purple bars on the screen. So, if you've got it hooked up to a 4K TV and you're having this issue the same as I am, I wouldn't worry about it too much. And you'll see why in a moment, because you'll see this is not a permanent decoloration or burn-in of your display. I made sure to test for that because I didn't want the Xbox to HDMI adapter to be causing issues that would permanently scar my 4K television and my viewing experience on all other games. But I cannot say for certain what produces this problem. I got fed up with the purple bars after I put in Castlevania Curse of Darkness, because being that it is a dark game, hence darkness, you're going to see those purple bars a lot. So I went and looked up various guides that told me to restart my TV, and then I ran a black screen test on YouTube. And when I'm on the YouTube channel of my Roku 4K TV, those purple bars aren't there. So I don't believe this is any kind of permanent burn-in. It's only showing up when I'm playing Xbox, and not even all of the time on Xbox, as you're about to see. But the purple bars are not here while I'm doing the black screen test. So I restarted the TV, I ran a black screen test, I switched back to the Xbox, and it's still here. We haven't gotten rid of the purple bars yet. It's not even consistent from game to game. You'll see it in some, you won't see it in others, or at least that's my experience with it, which is what makes me think this is an issue with using it with a 4K television. Later on, after I'm done and upload this video, I'm going to try plugging the Xbox into a regular HD television and not a 4K television, and see if the purple bars are still there. And if that's the case, then maybe it's an actual issue with either the Xbox or the Xbox to HDMI. But at this point, I'm not convinced of that. So now we're on Forza Motorsports, and the purple bars don't seem overly prominent at the moment. So I thought maybe the issue had just gone away on its own, or so I was hoping. But you'll see it's right back where we were again. Purple bars aplenty. And what am I going to do here? I'm stumped. I don't know why restarting it didn't solve the problem. I don't know why I couldn't see it on a black screen test and only when I'm on the Xbox to HDMI. So the next thing I thought was, well, maybe it's just a bad HDMI cable. So I swapped out a cable. I put a good analog HDMI cable that came with my Analog Duo on here, and then I switched the resolution to 1080i. I had the thought that maybe because it was in 480p, it was causing artifacts by trying to upscale too much from that resolution. So it seemed to solve the problem for a little while. Halo 2 multiplayer map pack is working fine, and I'm not seeing the purple bars when I do the sound test. you'll see there's no artifacts on the screen, even though it's a pretty black screen. You're just looking at a grunt, and you're looking at an enemy standing in front of the grunt, and he's telling you, sound coming from the left, sound coming from the right, sound coming from the center. And where's the purple bars? They're gone. So I'm thinking, hallelujah. Switching the HDMI cable, switching to 1080 interlaced, that did the trick. It was just a bad HDMI cable. It was a bad resolution. I finally nailed down this problem, and I can continue testing the rest of these Xbox games that I picked up from Ben's Game Zone. And for a while, things were going all right. I put in the Midway Arcade Collection, and I wasn't seeing purple bars, even though there's a lot of black on the title screen and in some of these games in Midway Arcade Treasures 2. I chose Narc because that seemed like one that would have the most black other than like a space shooting game, because the streets are going to be black. You're going to go into the subway. You're going to see some blackness in there. It seemed like if there was a purple bar issue, it would show up. In fact, it would show up on the high score table, and it would even show up on the controller layout screen that shows you how to use the controls in the game. So this to me was the purple bar test. Not to mention, Narc is just a ridiculously fun game to play, especially if you can co-op it, but even in single player mode, it's just classic vintage 80s or early 90s arcade fun where you're shooting all the bad guys and you feel no remorse about it because they're bad guys doing bad things. So you gun them down mercilessly, even though in real life that would be very highly unacceptable to do. Although you can arrest the bad guys by walking up to them and then you hear the phrase, "You're busted," and they disappear off the screen. So you could take a non-violent approach, but if you do, you're eventually going to get shot because they're not just going to stand there and passively wait to get busted. They're shooting back at you. So it's very much a game where your life is in your own hands. You've got to defend yourself because these are thugs dealing drugs, and they take no mercy and show no pity. They are going to waste you if you don't waste them. It's just mindless fun. It's not something that's a great representation of societal values, but video games are meant to be an escape and a release, and Narc certainly is. So let's move on to the Namco Museum, and we're not seeing the purple bars on this one either. So again, I was deluded into thinking I had solved the issue for good, but that wouldn't prove to be the case. I opted for Ms. Pac-Man to test it with because I thought, what more perfect way to look for purple bars than anything that's mostly black? And this one is almost all black. It's a maze that's got some dots and some ghost monsters, but as the dots are eliminated, you're going to see nothing but black, and you're going to munch your way around the maze, and if there were big purple bars, you would have noticed them. So, looking good at the moment, and then no, we're not. It just all goes to, well, insert your choice of expletive here. That's what it goes to. So now I'm boggled. I've restarted the TV. I've changed the HDMI cable. I've changed the video resolution. What else is there to change other than change it to a different TV? And that's what I'm left with at this point. But I'm going to finish testing these Xbox games before I try that step. And then if it doesn't work, I'm going to contact the creator of the Xbox to HDMI and see if this is a known issue, if this purple bar thing happens to other people and not just me. But one more time, I'm going to try changing the resolution again. Maybe interlaced resolution is the problem. Maybe 480p was the problem. I'll try 720p just for shits and giggles, see if that makes any difference or not. Here we are with Soul Calibur 2, and it seems okay for the moment. And I'm finally playing as Spawn in Soul Calibur 2, which is something I've always wanted to do. Why I never pulled the trigger on getting this version before now, I can only say it was because I felt cheated that I'd had to buy it multiple times just to get each version's exclusive character, so I just opted out of the Xbox version. But now that I can buy it used for under 20 bucks, I guess it's worth it to finally play as Spawn. And he is a complete badass in this game, which makes sense because he's a complete badass in the comics, in the movie, in the cartoons. I don't think there's ever been a version of Spawn that wasn't a complete badass. But seeing these purple bars again is not badass. I thought changing the resolution had solved the issue, so I went back to Burnout Revenge to see if it was still there. It's still there. Now, as you can see from this video, I went ahead and did the math on how much I would have saved on each of these games. At Goodwill, it was buy two for $1.99, so that accounts for the price difference of 1 cent on each of these games for a total of $9.95 plus tax, $10.65 amount at the end, which is what was on my receipt. Price charting averages for complete in box are here on the right side for a total of $50.69 plus 7% local sales tax, $54.24 total. So if you assume all of those would have been full price at any other store or online, which doesn't even factor in shipping, that's a savings of almost $44. Pretty darn good if you assume all of those are full value. On the left are the prices I paid plus tax. You can see what it comes up to, and he gave me a discount for a final value of $122. The price charting values plus tax come up to $111, so I would have overpaid, except for if I bought them online, which usually happens when I'm getting games at Ben's that I can't find anywhere else. I have to get them online. I factored in $20. That assumes half were free shipping and handling, half were $4 shipping and handling each, and that's arguably overly generous by eBay standards, and that doesn't even factor in the tax that would be placed on shipping and handling. So by that math, I saved at least $9.13, but depending on what you factor for shipping, that could go far, far higher. So I feel like I came out ahead in both cases, but what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching.